Hello Stonites, welcome back to LFI Educates. Today we will be studying chapter 4 and that is human development. So in this chapter we will be studying about the meaning and the process of growth and development about human being and the influence of heredity and the environment. And also this chapter will help you to understand more about yourself and will also help you to deal with others as well. So this chapter is not only about self-discovery but will also help you a lot in terms of your interpersonal relationship with others in your day-to-day life. The topics which we are going to discuss are human development. Here we will be studying about the lifespan perspective on development. Then we will be studying about the factors influencing development from the heredity and from the environmental perspective. Then the context of development and also the overview of developmental stages where we will be discussing about the prenatal, infancy, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and the old age. Human development. When we think of development, the first thing that strikes our mind is the physical changes, as these are the commonly observed at home with our younger siblings, with our parents, and with our grandparents, and sometimes even in terms of our friends in school. But we cannot just limit the understanding of development within physical changes alone. But even changes takes place or development takes place in the way we think, in the way we use language, or in the way we develop our social relationship with others. So this is the reason why development can be defined as the pattern of progressive, orderly, and predictable changes that begin at conception and continue throughout life. So development mostly involves changes both from growth and also from the perspective of decline as well, because this decline of development can be best understood when an individual attains his or her old age. We can see a kind of a declination in terms of their developmental process. So when we talk about biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes, all these are inherited from our parents. So especially like our height, our weight, different types of personality or character all points towards the role of our biological processes. And the role of cognitive processes in development relate to our mental activities which we use or experience in terms of solving a problem or in terms of critically analyzing any type of given responsibility. And when we talk about the socio-emotional processes that influence development, refer to the changes in an individual in terms of the way we interact with people and how we keep on maintaining or change our emotions and our personality. So all this comes under the human development. Let us now discuss about lifespan perspective on development. And we have so many points here. The first one is development is lifelong, which means it takes place across all stages of life, starting from the time we are born till the time we die. So development is a lifelong process. It's unending. Then the second one is, like as discussed in the earlier slide, all these biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes are interwoven in terms of human development throughout lifespan. Then development is multidirectional, which means it has both increase and decrease kind of a contribution in an individual life, because like an individual, when he or she becomes old, they become more wiser to take decisions based on their life experiences. That is increase. So when it comes again, when a person becomes old, their activity or their performance keep decreasing because as they keep on aging, like physically they are no more stronger like before. So especially in terms of performance like running or jumping, or in terms of requiring speed and action, their performance might likely to decrease. So this is the reason why development is considered to be multidirectional depending upon the age group. So development is highly plastic, which means it talks about in terms of our skills and abilities which can be improved or developed throughout lifespan. Then development is influenced by the historical condition. Here, let me just put an example about, for example, an individual experiencing a kind of freedom struggle at the age of 20 years will be so different from an individual who experiences 20 years at this present generation. So depending upon the experiences, an individual will have a kind of an impact in terms of their developmental process because of the generation or because of the context or the history that he or she experiences. Then comes development is concerned for a number of disciplines, which means there are lots of disciplines like psychology, anthropology, sociology, and neurosciences. They study about human development, and each of these disciplines they keep on trying to provide an answer to develop or like in terms of development throughout the lifespan. Then the last one is individual response and action depends upon the context, which means like every one of us, our experiences, it differs from one individual to others, and our experiences is not same. So for example, some individuals they lost their loved one at a very young age, whereas some individuals they keep on experiencing kind of a winning moment, or getting a job. So all these are the examples that proves us that people keep on changing with the changing of context. So all these factors comes under the lifespan perspective on development. Factors influencing development. We will be studying two important factors, that is heredity and the environment. So when we look at the surrounding, we see that each one of us, we are different from each other in terms of our height or maybe in terms of our personality. Some of us, we are short, some are very tall, some are very talkative, some are very cheerful. So this reflects that each one of us, we have inherited a different type of genetic code from our parents. And this transmission of genetic code from one generation to another generation reflects that we are different from one another. And it is because of the human genetic code that a fertilized human egg grows into a human baby. And the outcome of this genetic code reflects that each one of us, we have our own different character, such as intelligence, creativity, and personality, that makes each one of us a unique person. So along with this heredity, even environment also influence a lot in terms of our development. For example, an individual is born to be introvert genetically, but if he or she gets an environment that promotes social interaction and introversion, so such environment might influence the child to have a little extroverted nature. But on the other hand, for example, if an individual is short in height genetically, so even if or she is in a very good nutritional environment, it will never help him or her to become taller than the average. So all this reflects that genes set the limit, and within that limit, the environment influences our development. Context of development. Here we will be studying about Bronfenbrenner's ecological system theory, and the first one is the microsystem. So in this microsystem, it talks about the immediate context or the immediate environment of the child, where he or she gets an opportunity to directly interact with the social agents like families, maybe friends, teachers, and neighborhood. Then comes the mesosystem. Here it talks about the connection in terms of the relationship with the given context. For example, how the parents they relate with the child's teacher, or how the parents view the child's friends. So all these experiences will have a great influence on the child's relationship with others. Then comes ecosystem. It includes the event or the social settings where the child does not participate directly, but they influence the child's experiences in the immediate context. For example, the transfer of mother or father may cause tension among the parents, which might affect their interaction with the child in terms of providing basic amenities like quality of schooling, or maybe in terms of entertainment and many more. Then comes the macrosystem. It includes about or talks about the culture where the child lives. So here, it talks about the society and the culture where the child is born and brought up, because the culture and the society or the environment where the child is placed with contributes a lot in terms of the growth and development of an individual. Then the last one is the chronosystem. It includes about the events that an individual experience throughout the life course, and also it talks about the socio-historical circumstances of time. It talks about the changes that takes place over time. For example, divorce of parents, or maybe because of too much of conflict or fighting at home, or maybe because of parents' economic setback. All this will have a great impact in the development of the child. So all this comes under Bronfenbrenner's ecological system theory. Overview of developmental stages. We human beings, we go through different stages of life. Since from the time of conception till the time we die, we go through and experience different stages in life. And one stage will help us to go to the next stage, and none of these stages are permanent, but they are all very temporary. So the first stage is the prenatal stage, and the period from conception to birth is considered as the prenatal period, and it lasts for around 40 weeks. And according to the prenatal development, it is affected by the maternal characteristics, such as the age of the mother is very important, nutrition and the emotional state of mind of the mother is very important. And diseases or infections, especially which are carried by the mother, might adversely affect the prenatal development. For example, like rubella, genital herpes, and also HIV/AIDS, and all this might contribute a kind of an abnormality to the unborn child. And another sources of threat to the prenatal development is the teratogens, which is considered as the environmental agents that cause abnormality in the development of the baby. And these teratogens, like common ones, are like drugs, infections, or radiations, or pollutions, intake of drugs like marijuana, heroin, alcohol, cocaine by the mother during pregnancy may have a harmful effect on the fetus. And also like environmental pollutants and toxic waste like carbon monoxide, mercury, and lead are also sources of danger to the unborn child. So this comes under the prenatal period. Infancy. When we talk about an infant baby, many times we think that they are very helpless, but they are not, because all the activities which are needed to sustain their life functioning are present in a newborn baby, especially like sucking, swallowing, or discharging of bodily waste. And when we talk about the motor development, everything, all the movements are governed by reflexes, which is a very automatic reaction to any type of given stimuli, like coughing or blinking, yawning. All this takes place with the help of reflexes. And as the baby grow, the muscles and the nervous system gets matured. It helps them to develop the finer skills and also the motor skills that helps the baby to grasp and reach for objects, or crawling, walking, and running. Then when we talk about sensory abilities, all the senses are active since the time a baby is born. The newborn vision is estimated to be lower than the adult vision, but by 6 months it improves, and by about the first year, vision is almost the same as that of an adult. They find difficult to distinguish the colors, but the full color vision develops by 3 months of age. Then even in terms of hearing, the baby hears immediately after the birth, and the infant even develops the sound gradually, and also the newborn respond to touch, and they can even feel the pain, and both the smell and even the taste capacities are all present. Then when we talk about the cognitive development, the first 2 years of life experiences the world with the help of senses and their interaction with the objects, with the through looking, hearing, touching, mouthing, and grasping. So the newborn live in the present, because what is out of their sight, it is out of their mind. For example, if you hide the toy in front of the child with which the child has been playing, the young infant would react as if nothing has happened, because he will not search for the toy, because the child assumes the toy does not exist. So this is known as object permanence. Then when we talk about the socio-emotional development, the babies from the birth, they are social creatures, and they started preferring for familiar faces, and they respond to the parents' presence. And by 6 to 8 months of age, they start showing a kind of a preference for their own mother's company, and they are very afraid if they get separated from their mother. So this comes under the infancy. Let us now discuss about childhood. When we talk about the growth and development, during the early childhood, the growth slows down a little bit comparatively to the infancy. But no doubt we can see that the changes that takes place in terms of their physical appearance, like they can weight, they can their height, and also they learn how to walk, jump, and play around with friends. Their world also get expands from their family, from home, to school with friends. And this is the stage where they learn what is right and what is wrong. Then when we see about the physical development, we see in the form of two principles, that is cephalocaudally and the proximodistal. So cephalocaudally means the child control over the upper part of the body before the lower part, which means as the child keep on crawling, we can see that they use their arm first and then they shift using their legs. Then when we talk about the proximodistal, it is all about the growth that proceeds from the center of the body and moves towards the extremities, where we can see that the child can the control to turn over their entire body, and also then stretch out or extend your arms in order to reach the object they want. So this comes under the physical development. Then when we talk about the motor development, we see in terms of gross motor skills and the fine motor skills. So this gross motor skills is all about using of arms and legs confidently as they keep on moving around in the environment, and the fine motor skills is all about their eye and their hand coordination. And during these years, the child's preference for using of left or right hand also develops. Then when we talk about the cognitive development, this cognitive development in early childhood focuses towards the pre-operational thought, which means they can present or they have the ability to mentally represent any type of object which is not physically present. So if you give something to throw, they can throw even though the object is not in front of them. So here, when we talk about the cognitive development, we can see two important features, that is ecocentrism and animism. So ecocentrism means the child become very self-focused, and the children see the world only in terms of their own selves and are not able to appreciate other people's point of view. Okay, and along with this, we can see that there is an animism as well, which means that they think that all things are living like oneself. So for example, if a child while running sleeps on the road, he or she might show some kind of an animism where they say that the road hurt her. So that comes under animism. So slowly as the child grows and attains 7 to 11 years of age, their thinking, their cognitive ability will now change towards a logical thinking, like concrete operational thought. Then when we talk about the socio-emotional development, we can see lots of changes in terms of self, gender, and moral development taking place. And the child, due to socialization, has developed a sense of who she is or who he is and whom she wants to be identified with. So the developing sense of independence allows the child to do things in their own way. Then when we talk about the moral development, this is the stage where they know how to differentiate between the right and the wrong. So this comes under the childhood. We will now discuss about adolescence. So when we talk about adolescence, the puberty or the sexual maturity marks the end of childhood, and it signifies the beginning of adolescence. So when we talk about their physical development, we can see that the hormones released during puberty result in the development of primary and the secondary sexual characteristics. So what is primary sexual characteristic. It is considered as those characters that include directly related to reproduction, and the secondary sex characteristic include the features or the signs of achieving sexual maturity. Then when we talk about their cognitive development, this is the stage where they will develop a kind of a formal operational thought, which means this appears especially between the age of 11 and 15. They will become very more capable of examining their own thought, what others think about, and what others are thinking about them. So in this cognitive development, we can see that adolescents develop a kind of a special kind of ecocentrism that comes in the form of imaginary audience and personal fable. Imaginary audience is something like they started thinking like what other people will think about him or her. They become very self-conscious and they imagine that people are always noticing them and what they are doing. They are noticing their behavior and also all their actions and their behaviors are being observed by other people. So this is what they think when it comes to imaginary audience. And the other one is the personal fable, which means like most of the time the adolescent is started thinking that nobody understands my feelings. So that comes under the cognitive development. And when we talk about forming an identity, this is the stage where the adolescents will start searching for identity, and it enables an individual to develop a kind of a personalized set of belief that will make them unique of who they really are. And in this process of achieving their own identity, many a times they might start creating or having or experiencing a kind of a conflict with their parents when their ideas does not click much. Okay, so especially adolescents who are not able to cope with this type of identity crisis might end up experiencing identity confusion. So this comes under the adolescence. Some of the challenges faced by the adolescents are, first one is delinquency. So what is delinquency? Delinquency is a kind of an unacceptable behavior, legal offenses to criminal acts. So here, example can be running away from home, running away from school, stealing people's property, or acts of vandalism. So adolescents with delinquency and behavioral problems tend to have a negative self-identity, decreased in terms of trust, and have low level of achievement. Then the second one is substance abuse. Adolescent years are especially very vulnerable to smoking, alcohol, and drug abuse. So when an individual experiences a problem at home or maybe in personal life, they take recourse to smoking and drugs as a way of coping with stress. So this can interfere with the development of coping skills and responsible decision making. Then eating disorder. Adolescents' obsession with self, okay? They live in the world of fantasy and they experience peer comparison, which means they always keep on comparing with their friends and they become very obsessed with their own body. So this is the reason why the adolescents they experience eating disorder like anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa. So anorexia nervosa means too much of kind of avoiding food, or maybe kind of eating disorder where it involves relentless pursuit of thinness through starvation. Then bulimia nervosa means excessive eating. They will eat excessively and after that they will burst by self-induced vomiting. So this comes under the challenges faced by the adolescents. Let us now discuss about adulthood. So who is an adult? An individual or someone who is responsible, matured enough, self-supporting, and well integrated into the society. So this is the stage where an individual, after their studies, they will take up jobs and they will work, or they might even get married, or some individuals, if they don't want to get married, they will continue or pursue their studies and also work hand in hand along with their studies. So this is the stage, or may be considered as a kind of a transition from dependency to independence. let us discuss about the challenges faced by individuals on entry to adulthood. So, you have already know who is an adult, as I've explained to you already in the previous slide. So, when an individual enter to adulthood, they experience lots of challenges in life. So, some of them are in terms of career and work. So, when an individual gets a new role or responsibility in terms of workplace, they have to adjust with so many things. They have to adjust with the new environment, and they have to learn how to cope up with new challenging situations. And also when it comes to marriage, adults have to make adjustment while entering a marriage relationship, and also to know more about their spouse, and they have to cope up with each other's likes and dislikes. And especially if both the husband and wife, they are working, they have to know how to share their responsibilities at home for smooth functioning. And then parenthood. Once they get married, they become parent, and it is very difficult for an individual to get adjusted or experience this parenthood. And it is very stressful as the transition takes place once an individual becomes a mother or a father. And there are some situations like, fortunately or unfortunately, an individual becomes or have to take up the responsibility as a single parent because of different reasons or issues to bring up their child. In such situation, there are lots of challenges that the adult have to face. So this comes under the challenges of adulthood. Old age. So this is the last stage when we talk about the lifespan development of human being. So the image of old age is changing in many ways, and we see that there are many individuals who have crossed 70 years or even more, and they are still very active, energetic, and they are very creative, and they are even competent, and as a result of which the society value their presence in every walks of life. We can even see aged people in terms of politics, literature, business, art, and science, guiding the younger generations from the experiences they have. And the retirement also gives a lot of message when it comes to old age, because in terms of old age, there are different types of people where they consider that retirement in a very negative way. They think that the responsibilities are being taken away from them, and that's how they feel bad, and it affects their self-esteem. But again, there are a group of people, they consider that retirement as a shift in life with more time to pursue their own interest in life. So these are some of the things that takes place in old age, and in the next slide we will be discussing some of the challenges faced in old age. In this slide we will discuss some of the challenges faced in the old age, and some of them are retirement, widowhood, illness, or death in the family. So like the challenges faced by the old age are when there is a change in terms of family structure, or when they have to learn a kind of a new role as a grandparent. So the challenges that take place in terms of learning new role of grandparenting, for example, like they have to take care of their grandchildren when their parents are away for work, and also feeling of loneliness once their children moved out of home after marriage, because not all the families are same, not everyone live together. Some they started living a life of their own. So the parents, once their children get married and move away to a new place, that is the time they started feeling lonely. Then older adults also depend on their children for financial support. After their retirement, not everyone they are financially sound. So as a result of which, they started relying to their children. And this might trigger all feelings of hopelessness and depression in some individuals, which might not be applicable to all the families. And in old age, feeling of loss of energy, and also lots of health issues, okay, which becomes very common because of the aging. And the last one is like those left behind after the death of their loved ones suffer so much from deep grief. So it is the responsibility of the children, the grandchildren, friends to help the individual to cope up with the loss of their loved ones. So with this, we come to the end of our explanation for chapter 4.